Join the Brave Enough podcast with Julianne Williams. Renew, recreate, recover you.
Hello, everyone. This is Julianne Williams. I want to welcome you to the Brave Enough community and to the podcast and YouTube video for this week. I have a really special guest today. Her name is Cheryl Price, and I met her through a Christian business entrepreneurial group that we're in, and we happened to show up on office hours for help on some computer things at the same time, and we're introduced and found out that we had something in common, and that is loss and sorrow. But the other thing that we have in common is we want our pain to be used for something that is good and that will help other people. So Cheryl has started the most amazing foundation, and today I wanted her to share about that, as well as share about the story of her daughter Stephanie. So with that, Cheryl, I want you to talk about it because I love to hear you talk about the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Julianne. I am just honored to be here with you. And I was just thinking today, when I say it's not a good day for me, I have good days and I have not good days. When I think about my daughter Stephanie, who lost her battle with breast cancer, was January 4th in 2021. And I was also her caregiver. So she was at home when she died, cradled in my arms, and that was really like a traumatic experience. Just children dying, is traumatic, but then just to watch that happen, it was just, it's unimaginable. There are no words for it. Mm-hmm. So after she died, and I was one night, it was in April, a couple of months after she died, and I was in my bedroom, sitting on the side of my bed, and crying and tears flowing, and just, it's always the why my daughter, why did she have to die? She was only 37 years old. She never married. She never got a chance to have any kids. She was very, very gifted in so many areas. And as I was sitting there and breathing, then these words would just kind of drop into my spirit that said, there are thousands of moms who are grieving the loss of their daughters to breast cancer. And there are moms right now, just like you, right at this moment, that you're crying, are crying also. And then the words, pink ribbon moms, just dropped into my spirit. It was nothing that I was thinking about, nothing that I was even thinking about doing. But once I heard the words pink ribbon moms and the thoughts about the other moms, grieving their daughters, then I knew that there was something that I needed to do. I would have to say it was a call. And once I, decided that I was going to go ahead and do what I needed to do, that's the only thing that I got with those words. And because I facilitated women's groups like practically all my life, it was not anything that was like scary to me, or I wouldn't know what I was doing or how to do it. So the first thing I thought about with Pink Ribbon Moms was to celebrate the lives of our amazing daughters. And just celebrating and remembering them and remembering how they used to laugh and smile. And I know my daughter, I miss her like there are no words. And I was just thinking, I said, she was really like my best friend. Mm-hmm. She lived with me and we, have laughs about different things. And now I am here, and when I see things that, I say, wow, I don't even have Stephanie to say this to or to laugh about or to talk about. And that's just the loneliness that's with me because of my loss. But with Pink Ribbon Moms, in addition to celebrating the lives of our daughters, I was thinking about what did I need when I was caregiving for her, because in addition to our mission, which is supporting moms and help to ease the suffering of the moms who lost their daughters to breast cancer, then I also added a piece for caregivers, because I know what I went through taking care of my daughter. So in addition to the support programs that we have one that I call Let's Go Outdoors, and just to get moms, outside and out of this environment, because after Steffi died, I was in the house. I was probably inside for about a year. Mm-hmm. And I just had no desire to do anything, to go anywhere. I ended up seeing a therapist who was just telling me, if you can't, what can you do? And I said, I can walk. And he was like, well, just go outside, just start walking. If it's just, 1 mile or 1 block, just to get outside to change my environment. Mm-hmm. So we have the Go Outdoors, we have the remembrance ceremonies, candle lighting ceremonies for the moms. We offer grief counseling, which is so very important. That's almost like the foundation of what Pink Ribbon Moms is about, because we are grieving. Also, we have the caregiver counseling. In addition to that, I thought about what I needed as part of services. So we're also offering like the meal kits, Freshly, and Martha Stewart has them, like Factor, to help the moms, because when you're at home caregiving, then everything else kind of like goes out the window. You are not thinking about cooking, you're thinking about preparing meals just for your daughter. We offer light housekeeping. We offer transportation to medical appointments. And some of the equipment I was thinking about, I know my daughter needed, was like canes and walkers and wheelchair rentals and hospital beds and portable commodes and things like that. So we also offered the moms those type of things. And the daughters that are still here with the moms, then we offer them like what I call a pink pouch, which has a lot of personal items in it that they can use. And also for the moms. So with Pink Ribbon Moms, I'm really trying to just help, even me too, because I am definitely not anywhere near okay, and I don't think I'll ever be okay. But together, even, like I said, for me and interacting with the other moms, that we can really support each other. And it's something that we are familiar with, and we know what it feels like. So that's a little bit about Pink Ribbon Moms and what we do and what we have to offer, and how I was just led to help moms who lost their daughter to breast cancer, and also the moms who are caregivers for their daughters, because if you're in a position of caregiving, then that means your daughter is probably at stage 4. And my daughter was at stage 4, so there's going to be a transition. And then the mom will become one of the moms who actually lost their daughter. And then she can take advantage of all of the other parts that we have for the moms who actually lost their daughters. So I hope that...
Yeah, so you're developing a really, really cool network for people as they walk through the hospice sort of process, the caregiving, the physical and emotional support they need at that point, but then also a follow-up, so that the wisdom that you have now gained from having that experience can be shared, and you can make it easier for people to find what they need so that their recovery doesn't have to be even more complicated. That's quite amazing.
Well, thank you. We also have one that I didn't mention, was our mom-to-mom program called Just Like Me. and when we connect moms, just one-on-one moms, where they can just really share and talk about and support each other, or just be on the phone, or however they want to connect and just cry. I mean, it's just something else that we offer. And you are absolutely right.
So let's talk a little bit about, so people who are going through the experience right now of supporting their daughter through any cancer journey, specifically breast cancer in Stephanie's case. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you experienced, and looking back, what do you know now after having that experience that you wish you would have known then?
There's one thing, and I don't want to get into too much of the religious aspect of it, but I think because we were depending so much on prayer for her healing, that there was, like, I never expected my daughter to die. Never, never, never. Even though she was going through all the stages and I could just see it. But because of my faith and her faith, it wasn't a reality. And I think I would have wanted to really take a little more time with her before she got to like the critical place where, she was just basically, she wasn't unconscious, but her body was dying.
Right.
And because I think of the prayer aspect of it, it kind of blinded, I would say, me to even be proactive in other areas or other ways or other healing modalities. And my expectation would have been a little different regarding her outcome. And I just like to say this too, which was still so traumatic for me, when she was laying in the bed, and I said I was that day I went in her room and I saw all of her, her walker, the wheelchair, the portable commode, just all the, what I call sick equipment. Mm-hmm. And I went in the room, I said, let me get rid of all this sick equipment and get some healing energy in this room. So I put all of this stuff away and I covered it up. And then I just started speaking positive words and healing words. And then I went and sat on the bed where she was, and I was praying for her. I put my hand on her forehead because she loved my hand on her forehead for some reason. And I was just praying for her. And then when I was done, I took my hand away, but then she was conscious enough, I guess she pulled it back and put my hand down. And I said, Steffi, do you want me to keep praying for you? And she nodded her head, yes. So she died while I was praying for her. And that was hard. That was such a test of my faith, I guess, and my belief. And I wish I had, I guess, not so much dependent on that. And I understand, our religious beliefs about prayer, healing, and whatever. But because of that, I kind of was blinded to maybe looking for other ways, or even maybe accepting the fact that Steffi might die. So I think that's kind of when I look back and think about it, not that any of what I felt or thought would have kept that from happening. But for me, it would have helped me kind of to not even understand, but I don't even know. I'm trying to think of the words. if I hadn't had that expectation of her living, I may have done things differently with her as far as her healing. If that makes sense to you.
It does. I am so sorry that you have had to go through this experience, and I know that I can see we do rely. I mean, I am a very faithful person, and when my husband passed away, the one thing that my pastor told me that I didn't want to hear, but he was correct, was that my husband was healed by his death. Mm-hmm. And that was a hard thing to hear, because I also was so sure that his mind would have been healed enough that he would not have taken his life. And so even though I knew it could happen, you never think it's going to happen to you.
That's true.
Right? I mean, you think that happens to other people. And so I think I can relate to that in the way that I can. It takes me back to some of my experience too. I don't know. I think about it sometimes. If you can really ever truly prepare, I suppose you can get yourself a little bit more, like you said, trying to accept it. And I think we can accept it when we think it could happen. When it really does happen, that's just a whole different, that just takes it to a different spot. So even if you expect it, when it really happens, it's real, as opposed to just thinking it could be an outcome.
Right. That is true. That is so true. I heard, I went to this, I think it was called Cancer as a Turning Point seminar some years ago, years and years ago. It had nothing to do with my daughter, because my mom died from breast cancer. So going through it with my daughter again, it was just like identical. And I was like, oh my goodness, I know I'm not going through this again. But one of the speakers said that, and if we can say this, there is no good way to die. Mm-hmm. But the speaker was saying, if that's what's going to happen, they were saying the best way would be through cancer, because you get a chance to say goodbye. Mm-hmm. And I thought about that, and then that came back to me with Stephanie, and I said, you never get to say goodbye because you don't think it's going to happen. So once you say that goodbye, then you're like, okay, well, that's it. And I think about that, and I thought about that, and I was like, well, I didn't even really get to say goodbye, but I never would have been able to say goodbye, because I never would have admitted that she was not going to live. So that theory or whatever that person had, as far as he must not have had any experience, but you don't get to say goodbye. I don't even know really what that means. So it was a hard journey. And I was telling my therapist that caregiving for Steffi was something, it was almost like a privilege to me, because I know people who have been caregiving, it wasn't their children, but like the parents or whatever, and they were like, man, I really wish they would go ahead and die, because, to get them out of their suffering and, whatever else, so they could be free. But I would have taken care of my daughter until I died, because it wasn't hard for me. It wasn't something I said, man, I wish, I didn't have to do this. Every day I used to juice food for her and prepare her food. And then when she stopped eating, then it was like, okay, so what do I do now? I just go in there and I just talk to her. And I remember one thing that she said to me that kind of really broke my heart. And one time she said to me, she said, Mama, I'm scared. And I said to her, Steffi, I'm scared too, and we're just going to have to be scared together. Because there was nothing else that I knew to do or knew to say to her. And she would call me when she would come in her room for whatever she needed. And I went in there and I always say, Steffi, what do you need? And then this one time she said, your presence. So I just sat down on the bed with her. And when she said that, I stayed in her room with her and I slept with her. And I, was there for her because she wanted me there. Mm-hmm. And I always think about the fact that I'm glad that I was there for her. And I think she was content having me there. Mm-hmm. Knowing that her mother was there with her. So I stayed, like I said, I stayed with her. Except the time when, I had to come out maybe and make her food or make her drink something. And I would, always say, Stephanie, you need to drink something or eat something. And that's when I kind of knew it was not good because she stopped eating. So it was so hard for me to somewhat watch her from being this vibrant young lady. She was a fitness instructor. She loved to dance. And to just watch her child go from this person to, just their life just slowly leaving was hard. Very, very hard to do. But like I said, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Her doctor told me, one had called him one time and she was like kind of hallucinating and just, just talking and just saying things that didn't make sense. And I called him and he told me to take her to emergency. And I said to myself, and I made this decision, I said, and this was during the COVID, and I wouldn't have been able to go with her or anything. And I wasn't going to send her there by herself. And I said, if I send my daughter to the hospital, I will never see her alive again. Mm-hmm. And I made that decision to keep her at home. I said, no, I want her home with me. And I'm really glad I did. I'm really glad, even though everything that I went through that was so emotionally and mentally and spiritually draining, I wouldn't have done it any other way. If I had to do it again, I would do the same thing.
So I hear, like, if someone is going through what you went through, following your heart is something that when you look back, you are just grateful that you were able to do that, to just listen to your heart for what you knew needed to happen for your daughter and for you.
Exactly. And I did. I just listened to my heart. I didn't want her to die alone. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to not be there with her. So I kept her here. And I believe that she was happy that I did. Mm-hmm. When she pulled my arm back down and just nodded her head that she wanted me to keep praying for her, she knew I was there. And she knew I was there for her. So I'm glad about that. And I did follow my heart. And I wouldn't have had it any other way.
So after you lost Stephanie, I can't imagine the emotions, that you probably had a lot of stored up emotions after all of that time taking care of her. And I know some other people who have been caregivers for their loved ones, and after they've passed, there's been quite a void, even though that was very hard. And like you said, it was your labor of love, but there was probably a void. And then you had to not only face the fact that she had died, but that you also, your routine and your household was very different. What advice can you give people, if I'm correct and whatnot, what advice can you give other moms or other people who are caregivers? What helped you get to even this point, because you're still so new in your grief journey. And like, it doesn't go away. We learn how to integrate it in our life, but you're still really, to me, fresh, still in that grief journey.
Yes.
But I know you've learned a lot, and I've got to see you on enough places, on office hours and talk with you, that I just admire. You have just overcome in such a beautiful way.
Well, thank you. One thing I would say, probably one of the main things, because the grief is just so horrendous, and we need to handle that grief piece. I ended up, and I still am, seeing a therapist, grief counselor, and it has helped me because he listens to me. He'll like, how are things going, and we'll get like a plan for me to do whatever. And it's mostly, like I said, when I was talking earlier about just getting out of the house, that is so important, to get out of the house. Steffi lived with me, and right behind me, if you see this door, her room is behind that door.
Oh.
And I still have her things in there, just like she left it. I go in there like every day. I turn on the light, I open the windows, I tell her hi. So I think the therapy is really important, because if you don't have someone to really talk to, and my family members, I have a lot of family members, but they're in a place of grief too, not really as intensive as mine, but still they miss Steffi too. So they really can't help me process it.
Right.
You need a disinterested party and they're trained in grief counseling and what goes on during grief and that type of thing. So I would advise the moms to find a therapist or go to a grief counseling group. They do have them. And then another thing that I would share, and I wish I had bought one out of her room, but another thing that I would share is to keep some of your daughter's clothing, because I had made, because I sew, I could do it myself, I made stuffed animals out of some of Steffi's clothing.
I love that.
And it was some of the clothing I could just see her in, that she wore like when she was doing her fitness classes, her Zumba, and she would tie this shirt around her waist. And I took that one and made a little teddy bear out of it, and some of her pajamas that she had. So if you sew, go get a pattern and make some stuffed animals out of your daughter's clothing. And if you don't, you can, search online. There are people who do it. I think it's it's a wonderful keepsake of them, something you can hold on to. And if their sin is still on them, don't wash them. Just keep it.
Just a very beautiful physical reminder.
Yeah. So that's something else that I would advise the moms to do, is to, seek out some type of therapy or grief counseling, and to keep some of her clothes, to make one or two. I've made two. I still have a rabbit to make that I haven't made yet, but it's all cut out, so I just have to sew it together. So those are kind of the two things, and just the caregiving part. Just don't be careful and don't lose patience, because sometimes it can get frustrating for you, just caring for them and what you have to do for them, and then you're hurting and that type of thing. And sometimes, I mean, everybody, my daughter was, I would have to say, was really a gem. But there are some people that are not, what do I say? I don't want to say mean, but some people are frustrated too because of the position that they're in. And it's just frustrating for them. So as a caregiver, just kind of, keep your patience, keep your focus on that person, who they are. And if you have to think about who they were, because if you're at the place of caregiving, that's not the same person that you were, dealing with and living with and loving, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, or the rest of the earlier part of their life. So just love them and be grateful that you can take care of them and give them what they need, because whether they can express it or not, they are happy that you are there. And they would rather have you there than, say, a nurse or someone who, is just doing a job. And there is a difference in the energy. So just be patient with them and whatever they want. My daughter used to call me other times, like, Mommy. And I would go in there and they're like, what do you need, Stephanie? Every time it was not, why are you calling me again? What do you need, Stephanie? And then she would tell me, if she needed a drink, if she needed water, if she wanted her food, if, whatever. So just keep that in mind. Just be caring and compassionate and loving towards them, because they're in a place you can't even imagine. And sometimes I don't like to think about it. And I try not to think about it, but sometimes I just think about how she was feeling, and she was just like laying there and, knowing that she would probably die and couldn't do anything about it. That's something too that really hurts my heart. So just love them, take care of them, do what you can for them. And if you need some help, there are programs available, and Pink Ribbon Moms is one. We do offer caregiving coaching to help you with whatever caregiving issues or problems or situations you might have to deal with. So we're there for you and then for that area.
So Cheryl, so tell me a little bit, if I needed to find you, and we're going to put all the links in the description and all of that after we're done recording this. But so for instance, you're in the Southern California area. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about locally what you have. And then if someone is, across the country, can you or how would you offer support to them?
Well, we have a private Facebook group for the moms and the caregivers. And I encourage all the moms to join the group, whether you're here in Southern California or wherever you are, I guess, in the world. Mm-hmm. And that's where we do a lot of our community work, like the celebrating our daughters and sharing our stories and just getting support from each other. So the Facebook group would help moms that are not locally. And some of the other services I mentioned, like the meals, we could, do that because the companies can deliver, like out of state or whatever. The rides to doctor's appointments, we may be able to do that because we are going to be using Uber Health. So if there are Ubers in the areas, then we can work that out. We'll basically be coordinating everything. The moms will have to do nothing. We're not going to say, here, go to this website and do this or click this link. We're going to coordinate everything. So if there's a mom, say I say Texas, because my other daughter's there. If there is a mom in Texas that needed meals, then we would find a company in Texas that would be able to deliver the meals, and we would, make the arrangements and everything. Some of the other programs that we have are maybe limited by geography. It just depends on wherever the mom is, how we can get that service to them. Like you said, in Southern California is not really a big problem, probably California in general. But we do make every effort to support the moms however we can and whatever way we can, even if we need to do referrals. If it's something that we don't do, we can refer out to people in different areas. But we are definitely committed to helping the moms who need our help.
So if someone wanted to help others through your foundation, how could they help do that? Is it a donation? Is it what could they do to help other moms?
It would be through donation on our website. There is a donate button. So when they go to the website, they can look and see all of the services we have, and then if they want to donate, they can just click that button, and it'll take them to the donation page. Very, very simple. And that's what we're looking for now is the donations, so we can continue to help the moms and, provide them with the meals, provide them with the counseling, provide them with everything that they need that'll help them to move, I say, from pain to peace. And that peace comes from just knowing that you're taken care of.
I love that. Pain to peace. That's profound. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I just am so humbled by the work that you are doing. As I learn more and more about your organization, about Pink Ribbon Moms, and the, strength that you've had to honor Stephanie in this way by helping other people who have gone through the most difficult situation, I'm sure, that you will ever encounter. Or if,
Absolutely.
It is quite remarkable. And I am so sorry for your loss. And I think about you all the time.
Thank you.
And I just am amazed and, again, humbled by this beautiful work that you're doing. So I would encourage anyone who knows a mom who has a daughter with breast cancer to go online and find Cheryl's nonprofit, Pink Ribbon Moms, to join that Facebook group to get that support so that they can have someone holding their hand as they experience it. I think it's so helpful. I know one thing after I lost my husband is I just felt alone and isolated and that nobody understood. And I can imagine there's a lot of feelings when you are walking your child through cancer.
Yes.
So that support is just,
yes.
That support is so needed. So I would encourage everyone, and obviously if you can make a small donation, I bet every little bit helps so that you can send those meals and get people in those Ubers and give those moms and daughters a pink pouch full of goodies. I think that's just absolutely amazing. So Cheryl, any last words that you want to say to honor Stephanie and give us some encouragement?
Well, I say all the time, so when I go in her room, of course I have I've added stuff in there, but pictures that she's had, and I just kind of look at them, and I thank her for allowing me to be her mom, because it was such a joy. She was the best. She was my best friend. I missed her so, but I just know that she sees me and she knows what I'm doing, and she is smiling right now.
Oh, I'm sure she's so proud of you.
Yeah. So, and I love her, which is obvious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I am very proud to be your friend.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful for you sharing your story today. I'm sorry, I just had to. I kept my composure the entire time until the end. But I am so grateful to you sharing your story and allowing me to talk with you about it. And, I just am so grateful for you. And you are my inspiration today. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So again, we'll link everything on there, because this work that Cheryl is doing is going to help so many people. And it's such a beautiful gift that she is giving back to the world. And so again, it'll all be linked there. Again, Cheryl, thank you so much for spending time with all of us today, but especially me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you too.
All right.
It's good to be here. Good to see you.
Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we will talk soon.
If you are inspired by this podcast, leave a review and share it with your friends. You can always connect with Julianne Williams at juliannewilliams.com.
Recording stopped.